back with comedian David Boyle, and I'm quitting alcohol. And my guts are still not good. It's been 3 or 4 fucking days now, and my guts are grumbling. This never used to happen to me when I used to eat like shit and was killing myself with booze, fucking darts, takeaway food, fucking shit off the ground. I had guts of steel. Actually, I just realized it could be that boot jalopy fucking hot sauce I'm eating, because I ate that for lunch, and ever since lunch, my guts have been fucking churning. And it is pretty fucking hot, that boot jalopy. I hadn't factored that in. That just came to me right now, and that sort of makes a little bit more sense. Although my guts weren't good last night either, and I didn't eat any fucking boot jalopy yesterday. I did eat the habanero sauce, and that was pretty hot too. Maybe while my stomach is still a little bit fragile, I should probably stop eating the hot sauce for a couple of days. Maybe that's a good idea. But I definitely feel like my gut's ability to withstand food poisoning has been diminished a little bit. And I think it's because I'm eating so fucking clean now. You know what I mean? There's too much good bacteria in my gut and no fucking bad boys in there. Which is fine if you only ever eat clean for the rest of your fucking life. But if you don't, and that is almost impossible to do in India, once you introduce the bad boys to the good boys, the bad boys start causing a bit of a fucking ruckus down there. But also, I probably don't need to be eating the hot sauce with the big fucking skull and bones on the front of it at the moment. I might just put that away for 24 hours. But my guts used to be absolutely fucking bulletproof. And now fucking twice in 6 months or 4 months, however long it's been, I've had an issue. It's because I'm not eating fucking rotten food off the ground anymore. It's because I'm not leaving KFC chicken out on the kitchen bench and then eating it the next morning for breakfast. You've got to keep your fucking immune system on its toes. You've got to throw some shit down the old hatch that's going to make your immune system do a fucking few reps down there. At the moment, my immune system is on a fucking holiday. Well, not my entire immune system, because that is working overtime at the moment. That is fighting off more shit than you can possibly imagine. COVID, tuberculosis, leprosy, fucking everything. I mean my gut immune system, if that's even a thing. I need to start eating some like dirty shit off the street a couple of times a week now. I can't be dealing with this shit for 4 days in a row. Although I haven't helped myself either. I've been having the hot sauce, which probably hasn't helped at all. And the night that it was bad, I didn't have any dinner. I only ate lunch because I only eat 1 meal a day because I'm a fucking mad dog. But I did take metformin that night at like 9:30 on an empty stomach. You know metformin, that stuff that makes you live longer? That diabetes drug? Yeah, well, I'm taking it. I don't know if they would recommend you taking it when you've got gastritis or some shit on an empty stomach just before you go to sleep. I don't know if the doctors would recommend that, but I did that, and then at about 12:30 I woke up and it wasn't pretty. And then I did exactly the same thing the next day. Exactly the same fucking thing with the exact same result. This is who you're dealing with here. I'm on the bed. I'm curled up in the fucking fetal position. I haven't eaten. My stomach's empty. It's grumbling with gastritis. And I'm like, I need to take my metformin. I need to extend my life. What a fucking idiot. And I did the exact same thing the next night as well. And then it clicked. I'm like, maybe it's not the best idea to take metformin at the moment. Is missing a couple of days while my stomach feels like it's filled with sulfuric acid, is that really going to shorten my lifespan? Do I need to be taking this metformin right now? This unprescribed diabetes drug. I blow my own mind with my stupidity sometimes. But I tell you what, I've shredded up over the last few days. It's not long now until you get some fucking Instagram rig out Boyle. I'm going to have to make it subtle somehow. I can't just throw up photos of my rig. It's going to have to be like a natural thing where it makes sense I'm taking off my shirt. I'll have to figure it out. Anyway, it is Boyle Breaks History time. And this week, I am covering a topic that is very close to my heart and probably close to a lot of yours. The history of Taiwan. I was watching this thing last night or the night before. I think it was the Chinese president. Some fucking audio of him came out saying, we're taking Taiwan back, and if Japan interferes, and Japan has said they're going to interfere, Japan has said they're going to defend Taiwan's sovereignty. But anyway, the Chinese president, he's like, we're taking Taiwan back, and if Japan interferes at all, we're going to nuke them first and ask questions later. That's what he said. He's like, if even one Japanese soldier steps foot on Taiwan, we are going to nuke Japan out of fucking existence. Which is kind of a big threat. That is probably the biggest threat you can have. And Japan aren't a nuclear state, but they are in a very tight alliance with the US. So, I don't know. If any of it's true, it doesn't sound fucking good to me. So anyway, I don't know anything about Taiwan except for one of my best mates has had 2 Taiwanese girlfriends, but they never really talked. They didn't say fuck all. Although one of the first things I did say to my mate's current Taiwanese girlfriend was, what's the best Korean restaurant in Melbourne? And she's like, what? I'm like, the best Korean restaurant. I love Korean food. Where's the best one? And my mate's like, she's from Taiwan. I'm like, yes, that's what I meant. The Taiwanese restaurant. What's the best one? So anyway, let's get to this week's Boyle Breaks History. So Taiwan, it's just off the coast of fucking China, and originally is filled with Aboriginal people. Not that long ago, it was entirely native Aboriginal people to the island. They were just fishing and fucking and fingering. They were doing all the fun stuff. And then the Portuguese found it in 1582, and they called it Ilha Formosa. Ilha Formosa, which means beautiful island. But the Portuguese, they didn't do anything. I think they stopped there. They had a look around. A few of the sailors banged a few of the local girls, consensually, of course. And then they fucked off. That was 1582. And it wasn't until 1624 that the Dutch arrived in Taiwan, which was actually called Formosa. And the Dutch were like, fuck yeah, we love this place. So they set up shop there. And 2 years later, the fucking Spanish arrived. And they're like, yeah, we love this place too. So the Dutch had the south of the island. The fucking Spanish had the north of the island. And they shared it, which means they actually fought over it for like 20 years until the Dutch kicked the Spanish out. The Dutch won on penalties. The Spanish were kicked out of the tournament. So the Spanish were kicked out in 1642. The Dutch ruled, and it was actually the Dutch who started importing Chinese people over to Taiwan as like slave labor to make their fucking clogs or something. So that's when the first immigration of Chinese people to Taiwan began. And then 20 years after that, the fucking Ming dynasty in China kicked the Dutch out. They're like, see you later, clog fuckers. We're taking over. And we've got a big country next to us. Get out of here. Scram. So the Mings ruled Taiwan for a little while. And then the fucking Qings came over. The cunts from the Qing dynasty kicked the Ming dynasty out. They're like, hey, we're the Qings. We're going to get a lot of white people in trouble with our name. So the Qings came in and they ruled Taiwan for like over 200 years. The Qings really fucking Qing that place. They really Qing that place up. It became part of the Qing dynasty. That's what I mean by Qinged it up. So towards the late 1900s, when I say 1900s, I've never been able to work this out, or I've looked it up a few times. It's just never stuck. When I say 1900s, is that 1895? Would that be in the 1900s? Because I'm talking about 1895, but it sounds cool to say 1900s. Anyway, around 1895, the Qing dynasty was going downhill. They were all smoking opium. They were eating bats. They were doing all sorts of fucked up shit. The dynasty was weakened. Japan started a war with the Qings, and Japan won, and China was forced to sign over Taiwan to the Japanese. And so the Japanese ruled Taiwan until World War II. And this is where it gets a little bit complex. So, before World War II, China was in a civil war. It was the communists, led by Chairman Mao, versus the nationalists, led by that Shrek guy, Shrek. I've talked about that cunt before. So when World War II started, the civil war in China stopped briefly. And then after World War II, it started again. So what happened was Japan lost World War II and they signed over Taiwan to China. And Mao and the communists hadn't taken over China yet. So when Japan signed over Taiwan to China, it was actually the Republic of China, led by that Shrek guy. So after World War II, the Civil War continued. Mao and his communists were kicking fucking Shrek's ass, and Shrek decided to cut his losses, and all the nationalists, the Republic of China nationalists, fled to Taiwan. And mainland China, led by Mao, became the People's Republic of China, and Taiwan became the Republic of China, led by Shrek. So Shrek just took over Taiwan. He became a hardcore dictator, crushed all opposition. It was martial law up until he died in 1975. He was a brutal cunt too. And then after he died in the 80s, Taiwan had an economic boom. They fucking made heaps of t-shirts and merch and shit like that. And they became a little bit of a fucking economic powerhouse. And so in the 80s, they had their first democratic election. Some cunts were elected in, and it became fucking Taiwan. So it's only really been called Taiwan since the 80s or something like that. Before that, it was Samosa and the Republic of China, led by fucking Shrek. I hope that clears a few things up for you. Now, I don't want to end up like John Cena having to fucking apologize on national TV to China or something. But with that history, I don't see what mainland China's claim on Taiwan is. Fuck, I said it. If I'm found dead in a week, they got to me. It wasn't the diarrhea. The Chinese got to me. Anyway, that draws to a conclusion another week of Boyle Breaks history, and I will see ya the fuck later.